name is Esmo.
Hello?
Bro, this is
Amazing boy.
this is how it's up. Let's meet up.
See, look, he has a Sonic.
Yeah.
Put your iconic skin on. Put your iconic skin on, amazing boy.
Right.
Yo. Hey Siri. Call Louis.
Hey, amazing boy.
And speak. What?
Amazing boy.
What?
Don't you think that you're the only one that has a nice skin up there, right?
No, I don't.
Just saying.
You can call me. Cause I know people have OG skins. I know this.
Right here, bro.
I know this. If I bought an OG skin, I wouldn't lie about it. Like, you know how you know how Gold Trooper got re-released in the item shop, like Gold Trooper did as well.
Yeah.
Well, if I bought one of those two skins, I would not lie about it and say that I'm an OG. I'd say I just bought it in the item shop like from today or something, like if it was real
No,
release.
I'm wearing a season 3 skin. It's not
Yeah, I know.
It's not an item shop skin.
I have season 3 skins, but I didn't earn them in season 3. I earned them for like season 8 because of Save the World. Mainly the war paint and Rose Team Leader.
What the fuck?
I have no skins from season whatever it's called 9. I don't have any skins from season 9.
Incredible art style, which explains how Victor Freeze turns evil when he attempts to research a cure for his wife Nora's disease and is forcibly stopped. The disease itself isn't named McGregor syndrome until a few years later in the film Batman and Robin.
My vibes have a crush on you.
No! No! God, please, no! That film also gives us our first clues as to the nature of the illness. When Batman and Robin inspect Nora's cryotube, you can clearly see that it has 4 stages. Later on in the movie, we see that Mr. Freeze has found the cure for the first stage, and it's some sort of weird glowing Gatorade. And that's honestly about it, because we never see Nora suffering from the disease at all. She's frozen and lifeless throughout the movie. Much like George Clooney's performance. Hey-o! Shots fired. My makeshift air horn. Instead, some of our best clues come not from the movies or animated series, but from season 2 of Gotham, in which we see Victor Fries. Yeah, for some reason they changed his name, so now it's pronounced like French fries. Much better for hiding your identity there, Vic. Actively working on the cure for a very sick, but also very alive Nora. In these episodes, we see her cough up blood, have difficulty breathing, and generally seem to be pretty darn frail. Still, not
What are we dropping?
to go off of, but when most others would walk away, that's when I get really intense. In the direct video version of Batman, Sub-Zero, we learned that Barbara Gordon has the exact same rare blood type as Nora.
Okay.
His wife tried to kidnap Barbara so he could perform a crypto organ transplant, and digging even deeper across the universe, we learned that Nora is the only one suffering from the disease. In the CW series The Flash, Francine West reveals that she also has McGregor syndrome, and that it's common among ex-drug addicts. That's a huge clue, but I'm still not done. The biggest hint of all comes from Aaron. So William Hoffman, aka the Fox King, is determined to have McGregor syndrome, which is described in the episode as...
I don't know who he's playing with, but I don't know. I'm gone.
It's genetic. Attacks the lungs, has 4
He's
stages,
probably...
is treated with glowing goo, can hit other organs, can potentially be
Oh,
solved with a
no.
transplant, and is more common among drug
Oh
addicts.
no.
Oh no! Oh no!
Hello, Zachary!
And spoiler alert, it's not
That's
Lucy.
not Zach.
or I...
So let's start with the obvious, the lead.
No, Sweaty Zach is Zach.
Batman and Robin make
Yeah, but who's the other guy talking?
Nora is in an advanced
Um,
stage
Do you have someone else in your party, Zach?
Yeah,
of McGregor.
it's me. Amazing.
Who are you?
I'm his friend.
Where do you like actually know him?
No, he's random.
No, I'm just his friend in Fortnite.
Bruh.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Zachary. Okay. We have a 4 squad. Sure, it's your party later.
Okay.
Gregor syndrome. Whereas later on in the movie, we learn that everyone's favorite butler, Alfred, except you, Mr. Beauregard, you're the best, has just been diagnosed with stage 1. Now, as many people know, cancer progresses in 4 stages. From the first, where the cancer is small and contained only in the location of the tumor, to stage 4, in which the cancer is spread to many tissues in the body, making it much more likely to be fatal. Combine this fact with the blood that Nora coughs up, and it's not too hard to make a strong case for lung cancer. But that is where the similarities stop. Riddle me this, theorists. Why would the cure be a liquid that Wait, that's just a reference to the radiation used during chemotherapy. Then what about the organ transplant from Sub-Zero? I guess that would just be her getting a new lung to replace the one that's too damaged from the cancer. Darn, this is looking a lot more open and shut than I expected. What about that obscure moment from The Flash? Cancer isn't more likely to be an ex-drug addict, so wrong. Actually, since lung cancer is more likely in drug addicts, former drug addicts are statistically more likely to be addicted to cigarettes. Between 80 and 95% of alcoholics are found to smoke cigarettes, and a study found that those undergoing treatment for heroin addiction smoke cigarettes a staggering 97% of the time. And yeah, even Alfred too. Early portrayals of the character showed him smoking a pipe, so him being in stage 1 actually makes a lot of sense. You know, come to think of it, that stuff from Arrow fits too. Genetics, multi-organ failure, lungs filled with liquid, all of it comes with advanced stages of lung cancer. You know, come to think of it, we can also rule out other deadly lung diseases like pertussis and tuberculosis because they're highly contagious. When Batman and Robin learn that Alfred has McGregor syndrome, don't exactly put him into quarantine or start wearing surgical masks. They're still in full contact with him the whole time, just as Victor is in contact with Nora throughout the Gotham episodes. Speaking of those Gotham episodes, by the way, when Victor comes home to find Nora coughing up blood, he keeps asking about a medication called formoterol, later freezing a drugstore to harvest the entire supply of the drug. Now, formoterol doesn't exist, but there is a suspiciously similar sounding drug on the market called formoterol. Formoterol is a long-acting bronchodilator that clears a person's airway and makes it easier for them to breathe. So, I guess it's lung cancer? I expected it to be a bit tougher than that. I mean, I guess you could say that lung cancer isn't rare, but there are plenty of weird, unique strains of cancer out there, so damn. I thought we would pull some really obscure, rare lung things. Had this whole episode planned, eliminating things one at a time, building to the big final twist, but not really used to this. My 7-paragraph structure is just thrown out the window. I don't know, I guess I could just end the episode now. But hey, wait. What's interesting about Mr. Freeze's situation isn't the disease itself.
Open it! No, since you haven't brought the PC now. Okay, come on in.
She's already cured. That person that you're seeing
Next time, bring the computer.
in that present moment, she is cancer-free. McGregor syndrome free. No joke. Mr. Bird discovered the freeze. But hey, wait. What's interesting about Mr. Freeze's situation isn't the disease itself, it's the cure. You see this woman, Poor Freeze, tube girl? Yeah, her. Mr. Freeze froze her.
No!
Time
Okay.
He discovered a cure, except here's the thing. This girl right
Upstairs.
here in the tube, she's already cured. That person that you're seeing suspended in this tube right now, in that present moment, she is cancer-free. McGregor syndrome free. No joke. Mr. Freeze has cured her. And here's how. It's a treatment called cryosurgery, and it literally means curing cancer by freezing the cancer cells directly. Specialized surgeons use super targeted cold rays in a cryoprobe. Just think Mr. Freeze's cold ray just micro-sized and freeze the cancer.
You wanna play
cells
Fortnite?
to death. I mean, think
Minecraft?
cancer is just a bunch of out
Bendy?
cells, and freezing them does basically the same thing that it does to that bunch of
South Park?
that got frozen in your fridge. When it thaws, it's limp and dead because all the cells have broken down. The same thing happens to the cells in your body after they've been frozen with liquid nitrogen. So, Mr. Freeze in deep chilling Nora has actually killed all the cancer cells in her body. She's officially cured. Huzzah! Except there's a catch. Of course. Doctors performing cryosurgery target the cells they're looking to kill with these icy cold blasts by using very tiny cryoprobes. Mr. Freeze just encased Nora in ice, like her whole body. According to those episodes of Gotham, Mr. Waffle Fries is using liquid helium to freeze his wife, and liquid helium is like the coldest of cold substances that humanity can create, at a temperature of minus 452 degrees Fahrenheit. For comparison, the liquid nitrogen doctors use a balmy negative 320 degrees Fahrenheit, a full 130 degrees hotter, if you can consider hotter and colder when you're talking about negative hundreds of degrees. So yeah, he not only killed all the cancer cells, he also killed all Nora cells in the process. And if you think curing cancer is hard, curing I just made my wife into a human fudgesicle is way harder. When asked about it, biology professor Michael Hendricks at Purdue University stated that the technology required to bring someone back from a completely frozen state, quote, does not yet exist even in principle. It's also something we've covered here on Game Theory. You can't just freeze people and bring them back to life. So the worst part here is that Mr. Freeze has been cured, or at least a pretty solid treatment, the entire time. If he had been a bit more precise with that freezing gun of his, he could have helped treat Nora's lung cancer himself. But his hasty solution has actually doomed his wife to death. Man, irony is cold, but hey, that's just a theory, a film theory. And before I wrap things up, one final big thank you to Bill and Melinda Gates for not only asking me to once again join their campaign for spreading awareness of global health issues, but for the good work that they're doing in the world through things like their annual letter. It'd be
No, I mean, but...
Don't get me wrong, the newer, grittier version of Batman is fine and all, but I definitely miss the endless stream of Robin's bizarre catchphrases from the 1960s. Holy candy photographic mental process. Priceless collection of exciting interplanetary art. Oh, let me try one. Holy Robin focused online conspiracy theory video, Batman. Did I do it right?
How much is that iPhone 8 big one? Because I'll buy it. Oh. What company is it?
Apple.
Oh. I didn't even know Sprint was...
No, they came from Sprint. Sprint started...
Oh, you're so cute.
What?
Holy film theory internet, welcome to the show where we lay our investigative cards on the table, and the Jokers are always wild. Seamless segue alert, Joker, the clown prince who needs no introductions. And seriously, when I say he needs no introductions, he literally doesn't need any introduction. There are just some things that don't need to be re-explained, Batman v Superman. Plus, I already talked about him plenty in my theories around the release of Suicide Squad last year, which, if you haven't watched them yet, you totally should by clicking that eye icon in the right-hand corner. And I'm doing all that research, getting myself super amped up to see the movie and prove my theory. The Joker was in like 5 minutes. My theories were 5 times longer than the amount of time he actually ended up in the movie. I mean, I guess I should be counting my lucky stars, because at 5 minutes is a whole 2 minutes longer than Jimmy Olsen lasted in the entirety of this extended universe. It's late. Jimmy Olsen, the Dark Knight. But still, it's never let down. In fact, from my perspective, the most interesting part of this movie, Joker has come from the band Jay the Furious. You see, back before Suicide Squad hit theaters, heck, even before Batman v Superman hit theaters, online theorists were guessing that the Joker wasn't quite who he said he was. That he wasn't just some off-the-street criminal mastermind like he's been in every other cinematic incarnation, but that he was, instead, Batman's favorite boy wonder, Robin. Robin, who had somehow been transformed into a psychotic madman. And for those of you who think you've already heard this theory, well, stick around, because I think you're going to be surprised by this one. Now, as far as I can tell, this fan theory started gathering evidence with a Reddit post from Jason G169 back in 2015, who started analyzing all the promotional materials around both of these movies. And legitimately, there are a lot of weird coincidences here. The bird tattoo on Joker's arm. The way Joker holds his cane in the Suicide Squad poster being similar to how Robin's suit is positioned holding his lance in Batman v Superman. The bullet holes in the Robin suit hanging in the Batcave matching strange dots on Jared Leto's shoulders in promo shots for Suicide Squad. And the fact that in the video game Arkham Knight, one of Batman's former Robins has a scar of a J on his face left there by the Joker. A scar that just so happens to be in the same placement as the tattoo the Joker has in Suicide Squad. Legitimately, when you look at all that evidence laid out, there's a fair amount to go off of. But then the buzzkill train named David Ayer, director of Suicide Squad, rolled into the station and killed the theory dead. When asked what the most outlandish thing he'd heard about the movie was, he responded with this.
That the Joker is Jason Todd. Really? It ain't the case.
Now, if you're not a Batman superfan, let me catch you up. Jason Todd in the comics is one of the three main characters to have taken on the mantle of Robin over the years. And I say one of because just like there have been multiple Jokers, so too have there been multiple Robins. You have the original Dick Grayson, who eventually moves on from being Batman's sidekick and turns into the hero Nightwing. Jason Todd is the next Robin, at least until the Joker kidnaps him, beats him with a crowbar, and blows him up in a warehouse. Overkill. And then there's Tim Drake, who tries to alleviate Batman's depression about Jason Todd's murder by becoming the new Robin. It's also worth noting that all three of them have, at one point or another in the comics, turned into the Joker. So the idea of one of these characters turning into a tatted-out juggalo isn't as absurd as it might seem. Turning into Mr. J is like a rite of passage for the boy Wonder, right next to Stop Crime in a Green Sea. In the comics, The Dark Knight strikes again, Dick Grayson is fired from being Robin and becomes the Joker. Jason Todd, after getting killed in A Death in the Family by the Joker, gets resurrected via Lazarus Pit because, hey, if you got a pit that'll revive your dead, well, you use that thing. Upon his return, he takes on the role of the villain Renegade, which just so happens to be the Joker's original criminal identity. And then there's Drake, who in the 2000s Joker got himself kidnapped and brainwashed by the Ocean Joker, who then implants a microchip snack that mutates his DNA to make the Joker clone. He's literally a werewolf except for hair, he has white mounting, and a killer laugh. Killer laugh. Look, I'm not saying that all of this makes a whole lot of sense, just that it's a thing that canonically happens in this series like every other month to the Robin character. But still, I know what you're thinking. Why am I so cautious? We've already heard David Ayer debunk this theory, so outside of my love for hiding in comforters in the middle of hotel rooms in New York City because I'm recording this on the road, why am I wasting so much time recording this thing? Well, listen again to what he said.
If the Joker is Jason Todd, it ain't the case. He's not.
Notice that David Ayer didn't say that the Joker wasn't Robin. He said that the Joker was there are at least 3 different Robins. And when you actually look at all the Robins put together, it's much more likely ready as that hat snaps on his utility belt. We have a moment to wait. Labs is a fictional genetic engineering company that appears as a recurring threat throughout all the DC properties. For instance, throughout the episodes of the show Supergirl, there's a recurring plot line where the organization, led by Lillian Luthor, who's a Legislator, tries to eliminate Earth. Next category. Then there's the live-action Green Lantern film. You know, the one that DC desperately wants us to forget, where a Cadmus facility gets attacked until the CGI wonder steps in to not only save the day, but also save the head of the program, Amanda Waller. You heard that right, Amanda Waller, the master strategist behind forming an anti-Superman task force comprised of a guy who shoots good, a guy who climbs good, and a girl who bats okay. And though Project Cadmus isn't mentioned by name in Suicide Squad, you remember those nanobombs that Amanda Waller plants in everyone's neck? Yeah, well, in Batman Beyond, we learned that the nanochip implanted in Tim Drake's neck by the Joker was originally developed by Project Cadmus. Clone of Batman once the Dark Knight got too old for the job, and the person in charge of that prototype development, none other than Amanda Waller. Well, it doesn't the Joker, it does prove at the very least that we're dealing with similar timelines in similar universes for both Batman Beyond and the DC Cinematic cinematic universe. Now, of course, for all this to work, we need a scenario in which Jared Leto's version of the Joker had lost complete touch with his true Tim Drake identity before he converted to the Joker. And wouldn't you know it, but Suicide Squad gives us that exact same scenario. One of the Joker's first sequences in Suicide Squad is when he's got Harley strapped to the gurney and is about to electrocute her skull. Let's see what he has to say in this moment.
You helped me by erasing my mind. What unfaded memories I had.
Erasing his mind?
Oh. You left me in a black hole of rage and confusion.
So the Joker doesn't remember his past. He doesn't know where he came from. I don't know about you, but that is pretty darn suspicious. But to see just how suspicious, let's pull in some science here. You see, what the Joker's referencing here is known as electroconvulsive therapy, better known as electroshock therapy, a treatment with the unfortunate side effect of patients having trouble recalling events that occurred during the weeks leading up to the treatment or even the weeks after treatment. In more extreme cases, they can't remember their wedding days, the fact that they have children, huge chunks of their past. Now, we know from what few lines we have in the movie that the Joker in Suicide Squad does suffer memory loss as a result of his treatment. And we know that Harley Quinn is the one responsible for it. But why? If Harley loves her pudding as much as she says she does, why would she put him through a treatment that would erase all his memories? The simplest explanation would be that she's trying to make him forget something specific about his past. Something like, say, the fact that he's not really the Joker. If anybody could pull off this trick, it's Harley. I mean, don't forget, she is a trained psychiatrist, so she would know what she's doing with the electroconvulsive therapy. And if you pause the opening of Suicide Squad just at the right time, you can actually read her rap sheet, only to learn that she has a history of using false stories to manipulate the men in her life. So the fact that she's a, quote, accomplice in the murder of Robin could just be revealing Tim Drake's true identity, reprogramming Robin with electroshock to convince him he's something else. Someone else. Batman v Batman of this universe has watched his fair share of good guys turn evil, and playing that line over the footage of the Robin all over it, look at the Robin, good guy gone bad is somehow related to both of those the burial scene for the Wayne. Oh, spoiler alert, Bruce Wayne's parents died. Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I should have warned you. Anyway, you see that gravestone back there? You know, the one next to the angel? Well, if you zoom in a bunch of times and enhance it, you see that it says Richard Grayson, born 1982, died 2000. Dick is a nickname for Richard, in case that's confusing anyone, and Dick's dad's name is John, so it wouldn't be his father either. And if you think all of this is completely unbelievable, this evidence was actually confirmed by some set spies who went out to the graveyard where they shot this scene and took photos of the gravestone. Photos that just so happened to be promptly removed by Warner Brothers. But of course not before the internet made like a bajillion copies. It's weird that Warner Brothers would usually kill off the characters who eventually do anything and kill them off while Bruce Wayne is still a child. Absolutely. But then again, look what cinematic scene we're talking about. Batman is branded criminals, Lex Luthor has hair, and remember Jimmy Olsen getting shot? You know, Jimmy Olsen, one of the most beloved characters from Superman's canon. Well, here's what Zack Snyder had to say about why he did that one. Well, he just giving us this fun little aside because he had been tracking where we thought the movies were going to go, and we don't have Bruce or Jimmy Olsen in our big pantheon of characters, but we can have fun with him, right? And quote, Squad, like killing him off unceremoniously? And what do you mean no room for it? There was plenty of room for Granny's exploding peach tea. There was time for Jolly Ranchers. But no, there's no room for Superman's best friend, Jimmy Olsen. It's just very telling that this is the way the creative team behind these movies characters of the Lord. Needless to say, DC established comic lore in a very fast. So the idea that Dick Grayson is
you want a couple Starburst?
Oh, I thought those were mine. Don't you need more than half?
No.
Oh, man! Mom, remember you suffered from short-term memory? You said you'd give me a
Snickers.
No, you said you would have the Snickers, and you said you'll give me a Starburst, because you remember you Starburst on short.
Mom didn't say that. Nice try. I gave you half.
Sure.
Oh, I got. Yeah, I'll take it.
Here we go.
Oh. My hands are
Robin would be 32 and Batman would be 40.
I hope Maverick, if you hear Maverick meowing outside, let him in, it's cold.